After losing his lyrical battle with California rapper Kendrick Lamar back in 2024, Drake had no choice but to retreat back to the great homeland, Canada. More specifically, the Six. As Kung Fu Kenny went on his victory tour across the country and even to the Super Bowl, Drake had no choice but to move on and plan his next step. So after a year of complete silence, aside from a few throwaway singles, he appeared at a concert of his label mate and longtime collaborator, PARTYNEXTDOOR, and announced what the world had been waiting for, his comeback album. Some Sexy Songs for You was set to be released on Valentine's Day of 2025, but what people hadn't been expecting was that it wasn't just a Drake album, but a collaborative project with PARTYNEXTDOOR himself, who was just coming off the major success of his record, PARTYNEXTDOOR 4. Nevertheless, the hype was there, but when it actually released, it was met with negative reception and subpar reviews. People called it boring, bland, and uninteresting. But in reality, the project was anything but. Honestly, Some Sexy Songs for You is a top 3 Drake album, but nobody will ever admit that. And now that it's had a year to sit, I think I know why. His whole career, Drake has been known for being the rapper who could sing. And while every tape he released always had some R&B, pop-inspired tracks, often even being the most commercially successful, he's always been labeled as a rapper. So when his back and forth started with one of the most lyrically praised artists in the world right now, people expected him to use his writing skills to excel. Unfortunately, he lost. And however you may see it, an L is an L, and it ended with a song slandering his name that nobody or their grandparents could escape. So when he came back a year later and dropped a pretty much full R&B 21-song album with PARTYNEXTDOOR, it wasn't what people were expecting. They wanted to hear Rap Drake make his comeback and spit some bars, which he had proved he could still do on his previous album, For All the Dogs, which came out before the beef. And to be fair, it wasn't really Drake's fault that this is what they thought Some Sexy Songs would be. I mean, he said it would be a more laid-back project. He dropped it on Valentine's Day. He collabed with the biggest R&B singer in Canada. Nonetheless, when it came out, people were disappointed. Critics bashed the album and people instantly started calling it his worst. But like, come on guys. But what I think got lost the most in the hate was the actual album itself. People were so quick to give one listen and judge that they didn't digest it like an R&B album should be, relaxed and introspectively. This album has some of Drake and PARTYNEXTDOOR's greatest, most beautiful tracks, and I actually think this is the best step for melodic Drake since Views. The album has a dark, wintry vibe that I think only fellow Canadians such as myself can really appreciate. Some Sexy Songs for You signified a big moment for Canadian mainstream music, with the Absolute Towers even being on the cover. But the problem is that most of Drake's listenership is American. He got everyone so used to his mainstream rap sound that when he finally took a second to develop himself as an artist, everyone turned their back on him. But honestly, we've said enough about the hate it received. What I'm here to do is explain why this album is really a misunderstood masterpiece that flew past everyone's radar. And to do that, we're gonna have to go into the album itself. Yeah. Some Sexy Songs for You starts with the track CN Tower, which, while just an intro, perfectly brings you into this spacey, dark vibe that runs throughout the album. Both Drake and PARTYNEXTDOOR introduce themselves on this track with a melodic hook and a short verse each, setting the tone of their performances for the project. We then go directly into Mothballs, which begins with a minute-long verse from Drake over a beat that establishes and reinforces the sound they've created for this collaboration. But the reason this is one of my favorite tracks on here is because it's the first to do what becomes the best part of a lot of songs on this tape, the beat switch. This is when PARTYNEXTDOOR really comes out and shines. His darker, smoother vocals bring an energy to the song that someone like Drake honestly never could. His hook only complements the song more in contrast to Drake's light, flowy verse he slides on in the middle of the tune. Track 3, Something About You, essentially follows the same formula as Mothballs, but the switch bangs even harder as we get to hear PARTYNEXTDOOR deliver his first real verse on the project, taking over the entire final 2/3 of the track and ending it with the same hook Drake established at the start. One thing I will say about this album as a whole is that while Drake definitely leads the album through in the direction that it goes, I think that PARTYNEXTDOOR actually has the best vocal performances, even though there might be less of them. Matter of fact, Drake actually has 6 solo songs on this track list, the first being the next song, Crying in Chanel. This is where I think Drake has one of his best moments on the tape, sounding like a darker but more complete version of songs like Slime You Out and All the Parties from his previous album. Track 5, Spider-Man Superman, is a full-blown R&B banger with great verses from both artists, although the hook is a little bit corny. But the next song, Deeper, which is PARTYNEXTDOOR PARTYNEXTDOOR's only solo song on this project is actually one of the low points of the record for me. It's not bad per se, but it feels kind of like an interlude more than a full song despite being 3 minutes long. Afterwards though, we get a ridiculous 4-song solo run from Drake, for some reason with a random as hell but elegant Pimmy single slid in the middle. It starts with the song Small Town Fame, which I think contains the best hip-hop and lyrical elements on the whole project, as well as one of the best of those beat switches I mentioned earlier. Small Town Fame is my favorite Drake song on here, but I do gotta give a shout to the next solo track after Pimmy's Dilemma, Brian Steele, I'm Too Geeked for the Guys. It's a fun short tune referencing Young Thug's legendary defense attorney, but not much more in the grand scheme of things. It mostly serves as a build-up to one of the most praised songs on the tape, Gimme a Hug, which has over 100 million streams on Spotify. The thing about this song is that while the first half of it is really good, with Drake talking about the pressure of the rap beef and how lots of people turned on him, aside from a few such as 21 Savage, but it completely falls apart by the end where Drake is just rambling on about a bunch of strippers he knows, which is not new at all, but here he doesn't do it in a charming or flattering way. It just feels like he ran out of things to say. The last of his solo run of Drizzy Magic is Raining in Houston, which I'll be totally honest about, is complete filler. When Some Sexy Songs for You came out, people were hating on it for a lot of different things, but the only one I kind of agree with is that it's a bit bloated of a track list. Songs like Raining in Houston just kind of sound like leftovers from For All the Dogs, not adding much to the project other than a bit of extra Drake time. Luckily, the following track, Lasers, brings us right back to where we started with that beautiful dark R&B energy we had at the start. PARTYNEXTDOOR returns for the first time in 5 tracks, restoring the vibe and even locking Drake back in with these melodies and flows that match the instrumental perfectly. Unfortunately, with every rise, there must be a fall, and that fall takes place in the form of the only truly bad song on this project, Meet Your Padre.
I want to meet your madre, pay my respects to your padre, mi amor.
The most tragic part about this song for me is that I actually really like the sample flip the instrumental does. It would be a great song if it had literally anyone other than Spanish Drake on it. This song is such an easy punching bag, but it's bad in kind of a fun way. Like, it still feels low-key racist, but at least it's so stupid you can enjoy it ironically, unlike other Spanish Drake placements like Gently with Bad Bunny, which is just straight ass. Funny enough though, immediately afterwards comes the biggest hit from this album, Nokia. I actually wasn't a huge fan of this song when it first dropped. I find the first half is quite similar to the ending of Gimme a Hug, and the whole where the fuck the function thing super corny, but what ended up growing on me was, you'll never guess, the beat switch. The second half slows it down and features a super catchy sample and a pretty impressive verse from Drake considering how the song started, turning it into a well-evolved banger that goes crazy at the club, I'm not gonna lie. The following and second most popular track, Die Trying, is one of the most unique on the project. It touches on the superficiality of the women that chase Drake, despite him trying to see past it. Yebba then closes it out, and we go into 3 back-to-back stunning PARTYNEXTDOOR-led tracks. Somebody Loves Me, Celibacy, and On My Way. Somebody Loves Me is a classy, hard-hitting R&B slapper, which even got a sequel featuring the GOAT Cash Cobain. Celibacy is a slower track that starts with a calm build-up from Drake, but at the midpoint switches into a dark but elegant performance that PARTYNEXTDOOR uses to lead directly into his best song on Some Sexy Songs for You, On My Way. Earlier I said that Small Town Fame was the best Drake song on here. Well, On My Way is the best from Party, and a perfect representation of everything he brings to this album. Drake has a decent verse on it, but is easily outshined in the R&B lane that PARTYNEXTDOOR has created. Next up, Glorious is the most random shit I swear I've ever heard, with Ice Spice being sampled throughout the whole first half, and Drake actually rapping in her style. Even though it's shocking at first though, Drake actually sounds pretty good in this style, especially in his second verse, almost sounding like he's imitating Central C or something. When He's Gone is one of PARTYNEXTDOOR's best written songs, being one of the most underrated on the track list. He tells a story that both contrasts and reinforces the toxic playboy themes of the album perfectly, about his relationship with a woman who still has feelings for her previous partner, which he wants her to overcome before they can be together. After a verse from Drake and a repeat of the hook, we get to the last track on Some Sexy Songs for You, Greedy. This song is an epic 6.5 minute but chill outro that I honestly think is one of Drake's best. The first 4 minutes consist of the duo having their last back and forth and ending with a shared hook, but the last 2 minutes take you into this crazy sonic experience that make you feel like you're right on the cold streets of Toronto, ready for the night to begin again, which then actually loops and takes you right back to the start of the record. Overall, I would give Drake's latest a 9 out of 10, beating out other praise praised projects of his such as Take Care and Nothing Was the Same. And while many of you who are watching this video may disagree with me, at least I've explained myself and aren't just hopping on the hate bandwagon. Those who were expecting the hard Drake rapping album that never came, I got some good news for you, as it looks like that's what Drake's next upcoming album, Iceman, is going to be. I think that once that comes out, people will be able to look back on Some Sexy Songs and appreciate it for what it truly is, a classic to come. But hey, maybe I'm wrong and this is the dumpster fire everyone says it is. If you got some thoughts on this album of your own, feel free to let me know in the comments. I always appreciate a different angle. Shout out to I'm a Fun Guy and Queso Stuff 1009 for their comments on the last video. They were awesome. Anyways, that's all from me. We're covering new albums every week, so if you love to hear the latest on music, drop a sub. It would be appreciated. Peace out, gang. Love, love, love.